Okay, so in this video, we're looking at the career of rugby league legend Peter Sterling. Yes, now he's a Parramatta and Hull FC legend, so he's revered at the Eels in the NRL, and he's also revered at Hull FC in the Super League. And he played before the NRL and Super League were even thought of. When he was playing in the late 70s, the early 90s, the pitches were a lot. They weren't as the high standard they are now. God, they used to play on some right mud baths. The style of play was different. The game was different. And you look at his stats, you think, oh, he's not actually a great player. But actually, he played a lot of first grade games. And his career was cut short. And he missed out on some rep footy because of some of his career choices. So let's have a look at Peter Sterling, shall we? Now, he was born in 1960 on the 16th of June in Toowoomba, Queensland. Now, his father was a dental technician in the Royal Australian Air Force, so basically an Air Force dentist. So there was a lot of movement between Air Force postings around Australia. So he moved around a lot as a kid. But by 1978, the Parramatta Eels see fit for him to play. They go, right, you're good enough to play. And it's in the finals against Manly. And he comes on as a fullback. So not even his preferred position. He's shoved in at fullback in a very crucial winner-takes-all game. It's not even regular season, it's finals football. So he hasn't had a pre-season to train with these guys and play with these guys. He's thrown in the deep end. And guess what? He's going to have a career that makes him a legend. He's going to win a lot of silverware. I haven't put all the trophies he's won. I can go through the history of Parramatta Eels at some point. I'll go through the history of Hull FC and look at what was won by these teams and when. But he played in one of the great Parramatta Eels sides of the early 80s. Between 81 and 86, they won the grand final 4 times. They won the minor premiership a few times as well. They had 3 consecutive grand final wins between 81 and I think 83. So he was part of an all-star Parramatta side. This is pre-salary cap era, so you could just put a team together, and it will win. But he did sacrifice, a fair bit, because between 78 and 92, he obviously plays for Parramatta, but in between 83 and 86, he splits his time between Hull FC here in the UK and Parramatta in Australia, which makes him sort of ineligible for selection for, you guessed it, State of Origin. So he missed out on some Origin games because he was playing over here in England. The Origin selectors overlooked him, and he was one of the more creative, halfback 5/8s you would find. He would create space with his thinking and his vision of the game. He was a smaller guy. He was only 178 centimetres, which is 5'10" in old money. So he wasn't the biggest guy to take to the field. He wasn't the smallest. There are some smaller guys. But he made up for his lack of size with his speed, fleet of foot, and his reading of the game. And he made a lot of space for a lot of other players who were more prolific as try scoring, more prolific, yard getters. He could make space with how he played the game. He read the game very, very well. Also in defence, for a small guy, he could take down some big men. He would throw his body around. He rarely missed a tackle. He was very effective in defence, and he was very good at stripping the ball. He was very, very good at dislodging the ball, stripping it, and coughing and sweeping up the loose ball and turning the ball over for his team. So let's have a look at his stats. So he plays 227 games for Parramatta between 78 and 92. He would have played more had he not have split some time with Hull in the early to mid-80s. He only ever got 48 tries. So he wasn't a prolific try scorer by any means. He was steady, wasn't prolific. He only ever kicked 1 goal, 1 conversion in his entire time. But his speciality, especially in pressure situations, is the field goal. And this is something that's going out of fashion unless it's golden point, is dropping a goal. Just taking that extra point and dropping a goal. Something that I think is missed in the modern game. There's not as many drop goals or field goals, if you want to call them that, now as there was 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago when Sterlo was playing. It doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. It does happen, but nowhere near as regularly, and that was one of his specialities, was dropping goals. So in his Parramatta career, bearing in mind he's won 4 grand finals in here and a host of other minor premierships, he only ever scored 209 points for Parramatta in his entire career. 209 points. Now, because he's a little bit of a trailblazer and he's splitting time between Hull over here and Parramatta between 83 and 86, he missed out a lot of games, as I say. He only ever played 36 games, including a Challenge Cup final in 1985, which goes down as one of the greatest Challenge Cup finals in history. He only scored 10 tries. So he's more prolific as a try scorer, but again, he's still a creative player. He's still creating space for those other teammates to run their lines and get involved in the play. So he only scored 40 points. But you have to remember the game he was playing and the style of game. The fact that fights happened almost all the time. There was a bit of a biff regularly, mass team brawls, and you would have to, pick a partner and dance, basically. So he was playing in a different style of rugby league that we just don't see now. Unless it's at international level, test level, where fighting is still allowed. Rarely happens, but it's still in the rule book. Back then, brawls happened all the time, where you would have 26 players punching each other a lot. 26-man brawls, just throwing punches. Doesn't happen now. So the style of game he played and the game he played in is different to the game played now. But I will compare him to a modern great who is going to be a future immortal, I have no doubt. One of my favourite players later on when we look at all his stats. I will compare him to someone now because you look at his size and his style of play. And there is one particular player I have in mind. And I've done a few videos on this particular player as well. So if you look in my Rugby League NRL playlists, you will find the videos I've done on this particular player when I get to him. So, overall, club career only, he played in 263 club games. He scored 58 tries. So that's not a lot of tries at all. That is not a great strike rate if you think about it. But he's not there to score tries. He's there to create space. And he's there to bring other players into play. I mean, we see some halfbacks now who do get 100 tries plus. He's not one of them. His job is to create the space for those prolific try scorers. That one kick at goal, solitary kick at goal. But, as I say, 15 field goal drop goals. That was a speciality of his, was dropping the goal at key times. So overall, he scored 249 points at club level. 249 points in 263 games. If that was a football or soccer player, if you're Australian, that's nearly a goal a game. This is rugby league. That is not bad return. Nowhere near Cameron Smith, Jonathan Thurston levels. But they play a different game. And they play in a different form of rugby league now. The game has changed. Sterlo was playing. It was far more brutal for a halfback or 5/8. They would regularly have their channel run down by a massive prop. Martin Bella, for example, who is a big chunk of wood, would generally run down Sterlo's channel and try and kill him. That type of player. And yeah, Sterlo wasn't well known for his defence, so he played a physical game, and that's what cost him his career in the end. That's what led to his early retirement, was his physical play. He got stuck in. Now, we look at his rep career. Now, he would have played more rep games had he not been playing in Hull for those three years, technically 4 seasons, but 3 years. Had he not gone to Hull and split time between 83 and 86 between Hull and Parramatta, he would have had probably an even better rep resume. Anyway, between 81 and 88, notwithstanding the years that he was obviously not eligible for Origin, he played 13 Origin games at State of Origin level for the New South Wales Blues. Even though he's born in Queensland, he played his junior football, you guessed it, in New South Wales. He played 13 times. Doesn't score a point. Which I actually was really surprised about that. He did not score a point in the State of Origin ever. Really surprised me. But as I say again, you look at his club stats, he's not there to be the point scorer. He's there to be the creative playmaker. But he will score points when required. But it's not his main role. His main role is to create the space for others to score the points. But you have to remember, he's a halfback 5/8. That's his primary halfback. He can also play 5/8, and he also started his career as a fullback. So, surprising though it is, as someone who's played fullback, not scoring any points, he's the best in his position in New South Wales against the best against Queensland. He's considered one of the best in his position at halfback at this point. That is how highly he's regarded by rugby league as a whole and the selectors. He's that highly regarded that not only does he play Origin for New South Wales, he plays City Country for both teams. That's something you don't do now. You do not. It's firstly, City Country is no longer a game, but he played for New South Wales City in 1982. Scores his solitary try at Origin level, because City Country is the minor Origin, as I call it. It's still rep footy. He gets his only rep non-test points for New South Wales City in 1982. A solitary try. But again, as I say, he's not there to be a try scorer. He's there to be a playmaker. And his vision and his reading of the game makes up for his lack of size. But he was also pretty good at stripping the ball off bigger players and knocking the ball loose for other players to swoop on. He was very, very good as a defender. But because of his physical play, by the end of his career, he has a shoulder injury, which he can't recover from in 92, and he has to call it a day after 14 years. Now, he plays 5 times for the countryside between 83 and 88. So that is back then, City Country was actually considered selection fodder for State of Origin. But he's already played State of Origin before he played City Country. In 81, he was considered that good a halfback. He was straight in the New South Wales Blues. But he plays City Country for both sides. He plays 6 games in total and only gets a try. That stunned me. But the highlight of his career is being part of the Invincibles. He plays for an Australia side that goes unbeaten against Great Britain and France, which doesn't happen. He's part of the Invincibles Kangaroo squad. He plays 18 times in the green and gold. He scores 4 tries and gets 1 field goal for 17 points. So by the time his rep career is over, at Test and Origin level, he's played 32 games, scored 5 tries, got 1 field goal for 21 points. Which means his overall totals as a player is 295 games played all time in his first grade career, 63 tries, 1 conversion or penalty, 16 field goals, 270 points. Now, I can look at the Australia Invincibles series and I can look at Parramatta and Hull and do the history of that, and I will do. But Parramatta would possibly not have had all those grand final wins if it wasn't for players like Sterlo, who's running the show in midfield and creating the space for some of that star-studded Parramatta side. And to be fair, he's part of that massive comeback in 1985 in the Challenge Cup final for Hull, which they nearly pull off. They come up just short in possibly the greatest Challenge Cup final of all time. And that's 4 years before I'm born. And I'm talking about that Challenge Cup final. So it just shows the character of the player, that at the age of 18, he's thrown into finals football against Manly as a fullback in a big pressure situation and has a career that he does. But he only has a 14-year career because by the end, he has a shoulder injury that he never fully recovers from. In the early 90s, he injures his shoulder. And he plays part of the 91 season, but 92, his shoulder is just not, for the style of physical play that he plays, he just can't keep it up. His shoulder is wrecked and he has to retire because he can't fully recover from that debilitating shoulder injury. But there we go. That is a brief look at the legendary career that is the legend of Peter Sterlo Sterling. And, he's a Parramatta legend. He's a Hull FC legend. And, of course, he's a legend when it comes to Origin and the green and gold. So there you go. There's a brief look at the career of Peter Sterling, otherwise known as Sterlo. And yeah, he is a legend. And now he has a career in the media. He's had guest spots on the Footy Show. He's had 2 of his own shows, Sterlo and On the Couch with Sterlo. I prefer On the Couch with Sterlo. That's where he gets to meet other legends of rugby league and interview them. And he's pretty good in front of the camera. He asks the tough questions at times. So his media career has kept him busy over the years, and he's won awards post-retirement as well for some of his efforts in various things. There we go. That's a look at the career of Peter Sterling. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Place your comments below, and I will have some more videos for you very, very soon.